see from my CV, actually, I was completely not cut out to be a diplomat, because actually life should be about fun. So, I joined a sector which actually really understands fun. And then, of course, discovered that, it's quite dull, because you've got to actually have a strategy, and you've got to do the business planning and all of that sort of stuff. So I'm just talk a little bit about what we've done at Leeds over the last 10 years, because a bit like the National Aquarium, we were in a bit of a muddle financially. We were hemorrhaging cash, and we were not a hugely well-endowed place. I mean, we are fabulously beautiful. Look at that. It's gorgeous. But actually, nobody had really thought what people were supposed to do once they got there. They were supposed to open the gate, pay 20 quid, go in and go, oh, it's the loveliest castle in the world, isn't it? And then go away again, completely satisfied. And we had a bit of work to do to actually enrich that visitor experience and make people want to come and spend time and spend money while they were there, and critically come back again. So, bit of key facts, that's us. The most important thing, of course, is that we are not in Yorkshire. Let's get over that now. We're not there. There is another place called Leeds. You would never have asked that question in the 14th century. Don't show your ignorance. We're a charity. We get no money from anybody. We don't have a great estate. We don't have a duke sitting in the back garden, slightly irritated that he's no longer in the house. And he doesn't have vast tracts of land to subsidise us. So, actually, we have to live on what we earn. And that's what we've been able to do over the last 10 years. So that's real sustainability. But we are hugely weather dependent, because, of course, while you're standing there going, oh, isn't it lovely, you don't necessarily want your umbrella up. You'll wait until it's a nice sunny day to see how beautiful it is. So we've had to diversify and find ways of getting over that problem. The other problem is we're quite tiny. It looks quite big in that picture, but actually there are only 22 rooms which are openable to the public. There are other bedrooms and bathrooms, but it's not massive. None of them are large. The biggest room I've got will seat 100 people, and that's quite a squidge. So it's not somewhere where you can put thousands and thousands of people through very easily unless they're outside. So those are my challenges. So we're very focused about what we're actually there to do and the point of us. The basic point is keeping the roof on. It's quite a lot of roof. The roof's fine, but actually it's a 900-year-old building. It's falling to bits. What we can't possibly do, because it's a living castle, which you can stay in and do things inside, it has to actually stay intact. So a huge amount of money needs to go into that a year. At the moment, I'm spending £1 million a year just on stonework. I'll show you a bit more about that in a minute. But actually, you have to have a great time. There is no point in coming to the place unless you're going to have a fabulous experience. So that's really important. And we also want to try and inspire people. This is new. We didn't used to worry about education or inspiration. And actually, we've started to sort of raise our game a bit over the last couple of years, thinking, no, we're not just going to be beautiful and fabulous and viable. We're going to be inspiring as well and educate people. It's all quite exciting. So, we keep moving things forwards. So those are our vision and values. We also have a brand statement. I probably should have put that up, and that's, I don't remember, a glorious past and an inspiring future. I always get it the wrong way around. And that's really great. Unfortunately, of course, it completely fails to get the 18 to 24-year-olds. Of course, I should have realised it's a fucking glorious past and a fucking inspiring future. So, I'm sorted. I've got that demographic. I'm going back now to deliver that message. See how the Board of Trustees like it. But yeah, it's all about superlatives. It's all about great words, about enthusiasm, discovery, delight, brilliant experiences, historical significance. Because actually, it's one of the only intact royal palaces in England that a royal person does not live in. Isn't that marvellous? It was a royal palace until the time of Henry VIII. And so actually we're very proud of it. It's got real historical significance, even though, if we're really honest, nothing very exciting ever happened there, which is why it's so beautifully preserved. But we do need to listen to our visitors and understand what they want from us. And most of them actually are not remotely interested in the history. Phew. Says the girl with no GCSE in history. That's quite a relief. They actually just want to come and have a lovely time. You may have read in the paper recently about this new cultural phenomenon. She's called Maidstone Mum. She goes to Costa. We knew that. We've got 3 Costa coffee shops at Leeds Castle. Sells better than anything which is authentic. They want Costa Maidstone Mums. They're all about instant gratification for children, but in a safe place. That's the most cited reason for people coming to see us, is that it's safe, until Simon built his Edinburgh playground, and of course now we're torturing the toddlers of Kent. So actually, lots going on. We do have a formalised strategy, and actually we look at it about every 18 months, because we have a 5-year strategy, which of course needs looking at every 3 years, because marvellous though I am, my crystal ball gets a bit wobbly about 4 years out. We also have an estate master plan, which is a sort of sense check of all the stuff that I really want to do but doesn't look awfully charitable. So I don't put that in my strategic plan. We come back and look at that in a different way. But I also have flexibility to be able to respond to opportunities. So if somebody rings me up and says, wouldn't it be brilliant to put a helium observation balloon at the end of your drive? You can say, yes, if you pay for it. And of course they did. And of course it was a disaster. And it was totally pointless because there was nothing to see that you couldn't see from the top of the hill anyway. But never mind, we had a good time while we did it and nobody lost anything. And so we have to have a little bit of leeway, otherwise it gets a bit dull. So our strategic priorities: diversification, preservation, enrichment, that sounds marvellous, doesn't it, and legacy. And I'll explain why. And so, you know, there is a bit of a question, because all of you commercial people are out there and thinking, why isn't she growing? And the simple answer is, I can't get any more people in on a bank holiday than I do already, if the sun shines. I can't park them, I can't get them into the castle, it becomes a rotten experience. Now, if I could find ways of growing everybody onto February weekdays, we'd be absolutely fine and dandy. But we all know in this business that's quite difficult to do. So actually we have to do it through other business streams. So, yep, that's what we're trying to do. That is my rather pathetic graphic visualization of a weather hedge. The first conference I ever went to when I joined this sector, Nick Varney was there. You know, we are not worthy. And he said, you know, Merlin is marvellous because it has this inbuilt weather hedge, by which he meant he had outdoor attractions and aquaria. So I go back to the board and said, we need either an aquarium or a bowling alley. And they went, what the loveliest castle in the world. Yeah, that's really going to work. So we're stuffed, actually. We haven't got our own inbuilt weather hedge, but we have to find other ways of doing it and try and keep those visitor numbers steady, whatever the weather. So those are all the things we do now. Those are all the things we used to do. You can see there's a bit of a change. So that's in 10 years, the sort of things we've built. All of them make money except the golf course, and I'm working on that. And that's something we have to do all the time, is checking that all of those are making a net contribution and we're not in some way cross-subsidising. So that's quite important to us. This is a big case study of something we put in last year, got some super PR. Honestly, you're laughing, aren't you? A medieval castle, glamping is popular, so you make a knight's glamp site. And it is gorgeous. There's 4-poster beds, fur, it's all a bit over the top. And people love it. So we got 80% occupancy in the first year. We're already 70% sold for this season. People pay 140 quid a night to sleep in a tent. We've got lovely bed and breakfast on site, which is cheaper, with an ensuite bathroom. It baffles me, but you know, I am obviously not the core market. The other amazing thing is I thought, you know, with this amount of money, we can't just nickel and dime them the second they come in through the gate. You know, so we're not going to do any extra sort of selling. Not a bit of it. They come in with a list. We want a falconry experience. We want to go on a Segway tour. We want to do all these other things. So we get great secondary spend from it. Fabulous PR. We looked really sexy last year. We were in everything. And so actually, it would have been worth that, even if nobody stayed in the damn things. But actually, it's worked really well and it keeps going. It was also a wonderful team building experience, because there isn't a manual on how to build a glamp site which looks medieval. And at one point, actually, it was so muddy, this field, because last winter, if you remember, was just disgusting weather. It was. I thought, well, we're just going to turn it into the Blackadder experience. This can be the trench warfare bit. When it dries out, then we'll put the medieval stuff in. So it was quite nice. And we did a little bit of secondary branding as well, just so that people felt that we cared about it. Another thing we did, which was really simple, really easy, and somebody else does all the work. We love that. Just a turnover rent, Segway tours, guided through the park. They're very charming. Again, they hit a generation that don't generally come to us. But then they have a look at it, they get interested in the stories, and then we'll buy a ticket and come in and have a look at the park afterwards. That actually isn't the right demographic. That happens with my husband and daughter. It was the only picture I could find quickly. She's too small for it, I do apologise, but generally actually it's people in their 20s who come. And that's very much the Groupon generation. They buy the Groupon tickets in the week, fill up the week, and that pulls the weekend stuff and gets a really healthy turnover. And of course you can diversify even further. Yeah, we don't do that, silly. Right, now this is about the point about trying to keep the place dry so we make $1 or $2. All of the things which are highlighted in blue are pre-bookable. And that's really important for us because actually, I'm sorry all you ticketing guys out there trying to sell me these fantastic online ticketing solutions. What the hell is the point of buying an online ticket when you walk up to the gate and buy one on the day? There is no shortage of our tickets and people aren't quite that silly. Some people want to buy online, so we let them, but it doesn't actually lock in the visitation. So we have to find other things that do, and all of those things enable us to do that. It's because even if you've only paid a £5 to go on a below the stairs tour, you still feel you have to turn up, so you will with your umbrellas. That's actually Chatsworth, but I didn't have a good picture of us with umbrellas. Never be ashamed to nick, it's fine. So the key rules we have are nothing conflicts with that brand vision. Is it Leeds Castle? It's one of those key questions we ask ourselves, and our visitors will play that back to us. I didn't expect this of Leeds Castle. If it's a bit naff, if it's a bit crap, they want something better than that. They expect something lovely. The day visitor experience is actually the point of why we are there. It's a part of our charitable purpose, being open to the public. So even if we could make loads more money by doing other things, shooting for example, actually that's not on because it will conflict with the day visitors, so they have to have some sort of primacy. It has to have a bit of relevance and authenticity. We're not complete sticklers, but actually if you're going to do a Segway tour, have a bit of a talk about the place while you're doing it, then it makes sense, otherwise it's just random. And be very conscious as you develop of the old 90-10 rule. 90% of your time doing something which actually only generates 10% of your revenue. So we are very conscious about how much time we spend on each bit of it. And overall, it should reduce risk, not add to it. And we don't imperil the castle, because the castle's the point. Now, that's a bit of the building. We are nothing without it. It's why we're here. And it's falling to bits. You can see what sort of state that was in. Now, that over the winter is what we did. It was just that little section there. That's £1.2 million worth, but that'll work for 80 years. It's not like the Forth Bridge. Actually, if I can get this, we'll probably get the stonework programme through in about 12 years. And then actually we can just sit back and relax. We might even open for free for a while. Why not? We're a charity, we could do that. And I love that freedom, actually, once you've got, knocked that on the head. It's never going to get any cheaper if you don't do it now. But therefore it is a bit foolish, if we are trying to preserve the castle, that we do stuff like this. But fireworks makes me £100,000 in 2 nights. It's easy money, and so but we're careful. You can see, that's Richard. He's the fire watcher. There's actually, you can see Ian's down a bit further down as well. There's actually 12 guys on the roof who get completely showered with these fireworks, but they've got the hose pipes and are watering it all down. So it's a balance of that risk and reward, isn't it? Trustees are reasonably comfortable. I think we'd feel very silly if ever we did have a fire, but at least we've put everything into place to try and make sure we don't. Enrichment, building on what we've got and making the most of it. There are all sorts of things you could do which would be a complete revolution. If it were my own business, I'd probably have done something else. I was talking to Marcus earlier and he said, I heard you were building another attraction. Actually, what I was trying to do was buy another castle, which came on the market just down the road, because it was going to be bloody sight cheaper than building our own. And we were going to have Leeds Castle too. And the trustees said, no, don't be silly. So, okay, I didn't. But if it had been mine, I would have. So we have to try and work out what we haven't got and fill the gaps in between them. So if we sort of do a quick audit of our assets, we sit there and we chuck these ideas out of the things we've actually got. And then we go, well, what aren't we doing in between those holes? And that's how we start to develop new ideas, new strategy, how does it work? And it all then mutually reinforces that brand and it all feels right. And suddenly, actually, some of those things start being quite financially significant. The medieval festival, for example, we're doing this summer. It's going to be huge. It's going to be marvellous. It's going to be even better next year when we do Agincourt. Really excited. I went on Tuesday just to check. I was getting the speech already. So this is really important because our mission is in perpetuity. It's not just for now. It's not for a quick buck for the shareholders. And we want to try and get children and families, particularly who live locally, to gain ownership of the castle. So if we had a disaster, they'd want to support us and make sure that they're coming back and becoming those future custodians. So it is about continuous improvement rather than just sort of instant gratification. So, the kid who comes and fights with his broadsword, like I used to at Bodiam Castle, then actually turns into a girl who gets married there. And, if you get married somewhere, you really love the place, don't you? And you have that in your heart forever, and you'll bring your kids back. And that's what we want to do. We've been doing it now for 40 years. We've got another, well, you work it out how long. Thank you very much indeed.